hey, 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 hey.
colleagues, good morning. So we'll start the session very shortly as the people are still coming. So just keep your patience for 5 minutes more, then we'll start. Thank you. colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. This is Arfanuzzaman. I am working with FL Bangladesh as a climate change expert, and today I got the opportunity to moderate the whole session. So as I can see, some participants is already here, so we can start the session. I hope a few more people will come as we start. So at first, let me invite the distinguished panelists. Our panel is very rich and diversified. And we have a speaker from government, we have a speaker from UN, we have a speaker from regional entities, those who are working on the oceans and ocean-based solution. So first, I'd like to invite Dr. Mark Sheon, Deputy Director General, General Directors of Agriculture and Minister of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, Cambodia. Yeah, please have your seat. Yeah. So let me also invite Dr. Sangmin Nam, Director of Environment and Development, UNESCAP. Okay. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Novi Suestuadi, Senior Marine Special Ecologist, Directorate of Coastal Area and Small Island Utilization, Minister of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, Indonesia. Let me invite Ms. Margarita Victoria, Marine and Coastal Ecosystem Lead, Coordinating Body on the Seas of East Asia, UNEP. Now I also would like to invite Dr. Khurshid Alam, Honorable Secretary, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bangladesh. Thank you. I also would like to invite our last speaker, Ms. Samantha Thain, Senior Manager Sustainability, APSC and MEA. Thank you so much for taking a seat. So now I'd like to invite all of our panelists just to give a short bio and in which area they're working at present. Then we'll start the session formally. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, good morning, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mark Suan, Deputy Director General from Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, Cambodia. I'm a member of a technical working group, food security and nutrition, as well as climate change, and also the focal point for the ASEAN resilient climate resilient network. Thank you.
Good morning, Sangmin Nam. I'm Director of Environmental Development Division of UNESCAP, covering entire Asia Pacific as a member status. So here I'm going to speak about our regional cooperation on ocean-based climate action. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Novi Adi. I'm a marine special ecologist. I'm with the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, which is the national focal point for blue carbon and also for the some coastal ecosystem maps like seagrass and coral reefs. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Margarita Caballa from the UNEP Coordinating Body on the Seas of East Asia, or COBSE. I lead our work on marine and coastal ecosystems. So COBSE is an intergovernmental body with 9 countries in the East Asian seas. We support the countries in the management and sustainable development of the marine and coastal environment. So we're part of the Regional Seas Program.
Good morning. First of all, I'm not a doctor. I am primarily, you can say fisherman or Navy man, but I'm now working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, looking after the maritime issues related to the Bay of Bengal, but I'm primarily an oceanographer. Thank you.
Hi everyone, so my name is Samantha. I'm the founder of an NGO called Sustainable. My work, I'm not a scientist, also not working on any policy bodies at the moment, but my work is at amplifying and collaborating the role of youth in coastal communities. So we started a grant called Sustainable Grant, where we look to plug the gaps for youth who want to look at transforming their coastal communities and also supporting the amplification of the work through Singapore and Southeast Asia. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your brief introduction. I think now we have a very good idea about the panelists, and you can interact very dynamically with them, as you know the area of their work. So at present now I'd like to invite you formally in this session for event under track 3. So this session will mostly discuss how can we promote the ocean-based solution to tackle the climate change, as well as how we can better utilize the ocean and its resources to enhance our economic prosperity. The ocean is very valuable. You know, per year, the contribution of ocean to global economy is more than $1.5 trillion, which is very high. But if you also consider the social, economic, and environmental value of the ocean, the total value is much higher. So we have to give proper value or justice to the ocean, because we are just taking the resources from ocean, and in return we are not giving nothing. You know, the ocean temperature is nowadays significantly high historically, and also we are also polluting the ocean in different ways. But the benefit we are getting from the ocean is much higher. You know, per year, as per the statistics of UN Food and Agriculture Organization, per year ocean is providing food supply to more than 3 billion people. This is approximately half of the global population. And ocean is also contributing to the global trade, and total share is approximately 80%. So total economic benefit of the ocean is much higher. But as due to the impact of climate change and anthropogenic actions such as pollution, over exploitation of the marine resources, and these sort of things are hampering the ocean health, and also it also limiting the opportunity to better utilize the ocean as a climate solver or climate solution provider. So as you know, this session will mostly cover some issues like most promising technologies or solution that can be applied in the Asia-Pacific region to transform the climate, to transform the overall ocean system, as well as engage or provide more ocean-centric or people-centric solutions, and engage all the stakeholders involved, like people, stakeholders, private sector, government, and also the donor. And also we'll try to discuss how we can leverage the international collaboration to better utilize the marine resources and establish the more robust transboundary governance, which is very limited at present. And we have very little or very insignificant example of transboundary collaboration over the oceans around us. So I can also give you some example, like few years back, FAO has started one initiative called Bay of Bengal Large Marine Ecosystem Program that engaged 8 countries in the Bay of Bengal region, and it provided solutions and to more sustainably manage the fishery resources, and formulated a transboundary action plan, and also conducted a transboundary diagnostic analysis. So as the phase 1 has been completed, FAO is also working on phase 2. That is started early this year, and here we'll implement the strategic action plan, which is developed in phase 1, and we'll try to engage the government of this Bay of Bengal region so that they can work together and to solve the pressing and common problem in the region. So this sort of example is also there, and also UNESCAP is also working on some regional program. World Bank also have the initiative called ProBlue, which is providing financial support to piloting the best practices, good technologies. But I think these are not happening wider scale. Some challenges and barriers is still here. So this session will mostly discuss what are the promising technologies and what lesson learned we have that we can promote in the years to come, and what type of initiative we can take to scale up these sort of good practices, and how we can also integrate the local knowledges, traditional practices to this solution. So at present, I'd like to invite our honorable panelists. So in total, there are 6 today. 2 is not here, but we'll try to make the session more interactive. That you can also your role. So you also have to participate in this discussion so that we can make this discussion more interactive and also useful. So first I will give floor to three panelists. Then I will open the floor for the group discussion or interaction. You can ask questions directly to the panel member. And after that, we'll move next to panel member for their deliberation. So first, I'd like to invite Dr. Mark Sion, Deputy Director General, General Directorate of Agriculture, Minister of Agriculture, Forest and Fisheries, Cambodia.
Thank you very much, and good morning again. And first of all, I just would like why Cambodian have a priority action in ocean action and ocean-based solution. Because you see, Cambodian as a one country ratify or implement the international regulation law convention related to the biodiversity as well as environment, and also sea or ocean management. So Cambodian also have coastal lines about 450 kilometers and cover with four provinces, and also our coastal area and marine-based biodiversity are rich over there and contribute to the, let's say, food or job or bio-ecosystem services and agrotourism, and also our people get benefit to improve livelihood. But you see, our sea or our coastal area are affected by, of course, climate change or a change of land use or farming, as well as the deforestation and mangrove cutting, and also the related to the pollution, in soil degradation or erosion from the watershed. So why we implement as we put as a priority action, but please note that I will talk only along the agriculture, forestry and fishery environment. I'm not talking about navigation or transportation or pollution. So Cambodian have, based on the ratification and certification of this, we integrate to our action plan, strategic action plan, like sector agriculture, forestry and fishery plan of action, climate change plan of action, in our national determined contribution, as well as the long-term strategy for carbon neutrality. So, and this to leverage ocean transformation and adaptation and long-term, we have, of course, we have, sorry, I just checked my note. My note in, we have to integrate, as I mentioned earlier, we have integrate in this action plan to the plan, and also we have we have international, we have adopt and implement international regulation. And of course, mainly in our strategic plan, we have protect conservation of coastal and marine-based and coastal biodiversity, as well as improve, let's say we have put, sorry, my list is too long. We have put in, we have put in, let's say, integrated strengthening protection and conservation and coastal and marine-based ecosystem, mainly forestry, coastal reef or seagrass or mangrove, and strengthening capacity of coastal and marine-based community to adapt and to implement or to get livelihood from resilient to improve livelihood from the climate risk or natural disaster risk. And also develop and improve tolerance fish feed, let's say fish feed, and also improve broodstock and marine fishery, as well as for improve let's say marine-based aquaculture in coastal area and marine-based location. And of course, in fishery action plan, we have conduct research and for coastal and marine ecosystem in order to evaluate how the impact of climate change or environment degradation to the marine base. And also they put the strengthening management, protection of coastal marine and base fishery habitat. And also to improve livelihood, they also promote how to call good aquaculture practices in marine base. Yeah, and to improve and also integrate some farming activity, we call integrated farming, including conservation agriculture in order to protect and improve livelihood in coastal as well as marine-based zone. And agrotourism. Ecotourism is very important also. They promote it by both the Ministry of Agriculture as well as the Ministry of Environment to the fishery community or forestry community to deal with that. And of course, in the fishery, particularly they implement RED Plus program to reduce or stop deforestation. Yeah, and proper land management and strengthening implementation of regional action plan to prevent, deter, eliminate illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing or marine resources. That is the plan of action have been implemented. And we have several technical assistance like a TCP project by FAO or by UNEP or UNDP as support for Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fishery, as well as the Ministry of Environment to operation, maintenance, protecting, restore, as well as improve livelihood in coastal and marine-based area. Thank you. That is the action plan or the activity have been carried out. I contribute to ocean action as well as the ocean-based solution for regional as well as for global. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mark, to share his the work currently ongoing in Cambodia and the plan and strategy that is developed by the Cambodia to have more sustainable ocean in this region. And then I'd like to invite Dr. Sang-Min Nam, Director of Environment and Development, UNESCAP. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few slides. Can you put on the slide on? Thank you. So we have seen various practices, good practices at the local and national levels. And my previous speaker spoke about sustainable agriculture and also ecotourism, ocean-based ecotourism. And we have seen increasing level of activities and scope of activities. But so far most activities before was focusing on local benefit in terms of environmental benefit and also livelihood of local communities. But during last few years, we have seen increasing connection, discussion on integrating ocean-based climate action into main agenda of climate action. And then in terms of ocean-based climate action, certainly ecosystem-based approach is a key element, utilizing the blue carbon potentials of mangrove and seagrass and coral reef, and salt marshes. But there are many other elements, as presented here. Also, this ecotourism is one, and sustainable agriculture, that's another important element. And offshore wind power, offshore renewable energy development is another important element. So we have to really look at potentials of carbon, potentials of climate action based on ocean. And next slide, please. Recognizing the great potentials of carbon mitigation from ocean. So our member state, ESCA member state, adopted this resolution, ocean-based climate action at our commission session this year. It was a 79th commission session. And ESCA covers 53 Asia-Pacific countries. So covers all Asia-Pacific countries. So, and then ESCA is the only platform in Asia-Pacific where government can make an intergovernmental resolution. So in that regard, this is quite important and historical. So this resolution calls on, actually it was initiated by Indonesian government, calls on promoting capacity building, innovation, and technology development transfer, and also strengthening joint cooperation and technical assistance and resource mobilization. So really the idea, I mean, this resolution is not going to invent a new approaches, but how to support scaling up existing efforts at the national and local levels, how to replicate those good practices into other countries, so that considering the time gaps we have, the 80% of member states announced their carbon neutrality goal or net zero goals by 2050 and 60s. But good progress during next 10 years is most critical. In that regard, how quickly we can jointly work on utilizing this potential of ocean-based climate action. So in that regard, so next 1 year, we are going to work with countries to develop some details on ocean-based climate actions. Of course, as I mentioned, the ecosystem-based approach will be key elements. So how to utilize and strengthen blue carbon potential, and also scaling up ocean-based renewable energy and low carbon and green shipping and aquatic food industry, and strengthening climate resilience of coastal community. And so we have a speaker from Indonesia here. I spoke with him on how we can work with it. And then we have also a speaker from Bangladesh. Yesterday in a different meeting, he spoke about the importance of local knowledge. So those elements will be well incorporated into the regional action program, and this will be programmed not only by member states, but by stakeholder groups. So that's why I'm trying to utilize this to reach out to you and to engage, and so that we can really make effective and useful regional program. Also, we are mindful that there are various regional programs, sub-regional C programs. So we will be working with them so that, at the Asia Pacific regional level, we can jointly mobilize our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nam, for your nice deliberation. So just a quick question from my side. As you said, several programs and the initiatives you have at present. So is there any lesson learned or challenges you're facing to implement this sort of regional program? Or is there any issues in having the collaboration from inside?
There are, regional C programs under UNEP starting from 1979, and then we have a South Asia Regional C program. We have a COPC, and then PEMC, now POP. So each sub-region has its own program. But also, while countries were able to develop this kind of regional C programs, also sometimes it is also subject to geopolitics. and many of them are not able to really fully incorporate their program, this especially biodiversity and also BBNG, the program on high seas. So we also take a note about the challenges that regional sea programs have faced. And then, but now it is opportunity. This is a really new opportunity that we can connect this national and sub-regional level efforts and challenges into global processes. So these regional platforms or programs stay between this sub-regional, national, and global. So by connecting this, by supporting this vertical interlinkage and also horizontal interlinkages, countries and stakeholders could feel more comfortable about sharing their experiences and then mobilizing their joint knowledges and resources. So we haven't experienced our own challenges yet because we are just starting. So, but we hope we can learn from existing platforms and sub-regional sea program, and then we can jointly overcome and develop effective programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nam, for sharing your experience. These are very useful, I think. So at present, I'd like to invite Dr. Novi Suestuadi, Senior Marine Special Ecologist, the Minister of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, Government of Indonesia.
Thank you. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And thank you for the new initiatives from the UNESCOPs, because those programs are very much in line with what we are doing in Indonesia with the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries, my affiliations. So I'm from Indonesia, and we are the largest archipelagic states in the world with 17,404 islands. So with this setting, by implementing, for example, blue economy concept, we were supposed to be the most prosperous archipelagic country in the world. And yeah, our coastal and small islands inhabitants were supposed to be among the most richest or prosperous community in the country. But in fact, it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't happen yet, because those communities, those coastal and small islands inhabitants are among the most marginalized communities in the country with high poverty rates. So economic indicator, if you look at the economic indicators, those confirm that. Yeah. And I could see of many islands that I have visited, mostly for surveys, ecological survey, mapping surveys. I could see that many private sectors, mostly from the tourism and aquaculture sectors, come to the islands, investing their money. They build tourism facilities, aquaculture ponds, yeah, and mostly or frequently they conduct this development in unsustainable manners. And local communities just come to these sectors, they look for a job, yeah, and they just receive salary as offered by those sectors. And then these tourism sectors, they build up, yeah, tourism facilities. They build jetties, yeah, they build additional infrastructures which claim some of the coastal area where there are coral reefs, seagrass there. And because the unsustainable technique that they use to build the jetty, and then the coastal erosions taking place. And the aquaculture sectors, they just convert mangrove to fish ponds. And the workers of these aquaculture sectors come from outside the islands. That's basically the setting of what's happening in our islands. So not long ago, we realized, our ministry realized these issues, and we started to impose strict law enforcement on the marine spatial planning. So now, any agencies, any parties which will use the marine space, they need to apply permits to us. Yeah, and then we assess if the special permits is in line with the marine spatial planning in the area. Okay. Yeah, it just started not long ago. Yeah, probably like started from 2 to 3 years ago. Yeah. But of course, we have limited capacity to monitor all of this. Yeah, because of those 17,504 islands. And then also we accelerate the assessment of ecosystem services. We are also, another unit of our ministry is the National Focal Point for developing ocean account. Yeah. And then we also conducted several restorations for coastal ecosystem, mostly mangrove. But it's not just planting. We try to engage community on how they could generate local livelihood or local income by doing these mangrove restorations. For example, by generating mangrove tourism area in their surroundings. Some projects succeed, some projects fail because of the structure, the cultural structure of the community itself. And then we also conducted like what we call as hybrid engineering. So for islands experiencing coastal erosions, we build up like environmental friendly materials, not a hard structure. Hard and permanent structures is like a sack of sands from degradable materials, which allows the sediments to deposit behind these structures, and then mangroves could grow naturally. And then, yes, in some areas, mangrove could grow naturally, and that triggers the mangrove tourism area, which benefits income to local community. And some artisanal fishermen, they also change their livelihood from going out fishing to become a tour guide, yeah, and manage some local culinary in the area. But some aspects are still unaddressed, and hopefully we could work together with UNESCAP to address this. For example, waste management doesn't exist in those islands. They just dump in certain area and burning it. Of course, it's also one source of emissions. Yeah. And then, yeah, the use of renewable energy has been conducted, but it's like hit and run projects, mostly coming from solar panel projects. Yeah. And yeah, the big issue on this solar panel project is the maintenance of the sustainability of these solar panels. I think I will stop here and we could discuss further later. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Navi, to share your experience and programs and initiatives on fishery, mangrove, and ecosystem management. As you also said that there is some capacity gap at the institutional level to manage your large marine ecosystem. I think these are very common in other countries as well, because institutions are playing a key role to establish a robust transboundary governance. So I also like to ask you to share what can be done to strengthen the role of these institutions and how can we enhance their capacity as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yes. Yeah, there are some cases where, for example, probably relevant to these questions, where the mangrove restoration succeeds and fail in other places. The success stories mostly come from where the local community have already initiated their own restoration project, for example. And then they have local experiences on how to manage these restorations and they did this because of the environmental damage they experienced. And then we supported this initiative and like formalize, not really formalize, but formalize them and then conduct capacity buildings to those communities. That's one thing. Another thing that's we have another unit which has mandates to legally acknowledge the local customary community. Yeah. So there are many customary community in Indonesia. There are many, and they have local wisdoms to protect their own coastal area. Yeah. But it's not like recognized by the state, for example. And if it's not recognized, they're not eligible to receive fundings and support, etc. So we try to legally, we are trying to support how to legalize them. And we're working with the local government because they are located in faraway area. Yeah. And I think that's some of our experiences. Thank you. I have the answers.
Thank you, Dr. Navi. Thank you so much. I think we have enriched by your thoughtful remarks. So now I'd like to give you some opportunity to our colleagues and participants. So now we have the opportunity to ask questions directly to our speakers. And if you don't have any question, don't worry. You can also share your ideas and experience with us as well. So now we will spend 10 to 15 minutes to have your question and also to gather your feedback as well. Yeah. So you can just raise your hand and share your identity and ask the question. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, that give me opportunity to raise a question. My name is Watana from Cambodia, and I'm not government officer. I work for NGO. So my area focus in coastal area in terrestrial. My question to Dr. Sengim, because in Cambodia, we talk about sustainable financing for forest management. Red Plus project, it seems successful for some area in Karamao Mountain landscape and in Mandaluyong province. But for blue carbon, it's very new for Cambodia. I think I would like to see any experience from different countries in Asia that can measure carbon stock for like seagrass, coral reef, and mangrove. Because the blue carbon in Cambodia very new, and now EU delegation, USID, and Europe Union also, they plan to prepare the budget to grant the coastal or marine management and sustainable development there with the blue carbon. But this is very new for us. You have any experience or any advisor on this? Thank you.
Yes, you can answer. Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, this Dr. Novi would be in a better position to respond to this question, but my first point is here, we look at also voluntary carbon market, which is about 200 million ton per year, and we see increasing voluntary market. Of course, there is a kind of similar mechanism similar to CDM on the Paris Agreement, Article 6.4, but for especially this utilizing this blue carbon, I would suggest to look at opportunities with a voluntary carbon market. But we have but most of the voluntary carbon market is focusing on terrestrial, ecosystem, forest, not to the mangrove or seagrass and coral reef and salt marshes yet. So the detailed methodologies for quantifying the emission reduction is not really there yet. Also verification, compliance will be another issue. So this should be one area that specialized agency or international program should look at it, so that we can really develop compliance monitoring and compliance mechanism that can be widely utilized. In that regard, yesterday one meeting organized by COPSI, there was also proposal to really develop this blue taxonomy. This might be relevant to this question, but I also learned that Indonesian government most recently released a guideline to support this utilization of a blue carbon. So with your permission, let me give this to.
Thank you, Dr. Nam. Thank you for the questions. From our experiences, from Indonesia's experiences, one way to do that, to mainstream the blue carbon in broad context, rehabilitation, conservations, and then the empowering the local community for blue carbon, is to include this blue carbon into the climate change regulations. And in Indonesia experience, we are now preparing methodologies, concepts to include blue carbon into our nationally determined contributions, which is the consequence of the ratifications of the Paris Agreement. Yeah. And we already completed the first versions of the seagrass blue carbon calculations. For example, how to establish baseline emissions from seagrass degradations. And then we developed mitigation actions on how to reduce the emissions coming from the seagrass degradations by some scenarios. Like the first scenario is the marine spatial management. And the second scenario is by limited seagrass restorations. Yeah. That was the first draft or first versions that we launched in Bali 3 weeks ago in the high-level panel meeting of the ICE country, archipelagic countries. And our target is to include or to complete this concept, methodology and etc., to be incorporated into our updated NDZ. I think it will be in the end of next year. So by including this, then all related initiative or projects can be justified. Yeah. And there is a formal connections with the national policy. Yeah. I think probably that's what I could answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mark and Sangwing, for your brief answer. So, Novi, do you want to add something? Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Watana, and from Cambodia. Yeah, interesting information. Yeah, of course, in Cambodia, we use NGO as an implementation partner, collaborate with our partner. You see, we have like a blue carbon. We have put, as I mentioned earlier, we have put in our plan of action. particularly RED Plus investment program. And also now we have implement with TCP, like support by Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations. And now we extend, and I think you can contact our fishery administration in order collaboration and provide input for blue carbon related concept. Thank you very much. I will give note and inform to my colleague in fishery administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mark, for your compliment. Now we'll move to the next question. No question? Okay. So if you don't have any question, you can also share your idea as well on the topic the panelists discussed, or you can also share your good practices and lesson learned as well. Yeah.
Hi. I heard about Indonesia in particular that there are 17,500 islands, which most of them they don't have a quite good recycling system. So, and as I heard, they burn their rubbish basically. So, which creates a lot of waste and landfills, which the material that cannot be treated. My question was basically very simple. Do you have any kind of technical solution to this problem? What Indonesia is doing for those islands? Thank you.
Thank you very much for this question. There's actually ongoing unresolved issues in Indonesia. Yeah, this issue has been identified, but like not a permanent solution, not yet permanent solutions to this. For example, some institutional agencies have supported or have provided like recycling machines to some of these islands, very limited islands, but because of those 17,000 something numbers. But like most of other projects, like solar panel project and also this recycling machine project, it went well only like for the short durations. Yeah. And then the maintenance of it, like the deployment of human resources to operate it, and then the funding to collect the garbage in the islands is not well maintained. Yeah, because it leads to another aspect that I hope we could address by this ASCAP new initiative. We need to strengthen the policies, governance, and capacity at those islands levels. Yeah, because no strong policy, governance, and capacity supports. Yes, we have conducted, but yeah, it's not like permanent. Yeah. So we may need to really emphasize this issue to the governments at those islands, and they may need to establish community groups, to handle this. For example, community groups to do the garbage collections and create a system, something like that. While also thinking of the sustainable supports to whatever waste management technologies that is provided to these islands. Yeah, so we need, this is unaddressed matters, ongoing matters. And for we have some most outer islands where defines our national boundary, and those issues are unaddressed on those most outermost part islands. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Navi, for answering this question. So now we'll move to the next question.
If there are no questions, maybe I can share a bit more local of ideas from the previous gentleman's question, if that's okay. And I also have questions for my fellow panelists. But I wanted to share an example because I think we talk a lot about the carbon markets, blue mangrove restoration. And I think, working on carbon markets, we do realize that it's very inaccessible for local communities. The cost of maintaining verification, auditing, a lot of financing doesn't cover that. But I think the role of community, like what our doctor said, is really important, and how that from the private sector, they can finance the transition of, mangrove reforestation, not in the form of offsets, but also in terms of coastal protection. So just wanted to give the example, like even at a private sector, or like even through my social enterprise, we at Singapore, we finance consumers who want to support local projects. Like I work with carbon ethics in Bintan. Even though they're not verified yet, people want to support the transition of coastal communities to farming. And I find that that's a good example. So not just looking at the verified methods, but how it can address the consumer financing side. And I guess moving on beyond the example, I have a question for my fellow panelists. What are some of the biggest barriers that you see to implement your initiatives? Or how can people here in the audience as consumers be part of this decision making? Because I think from a policy level, there's always this very high up. So how do we get more people on the ground to be interested in these issues? Yeah, so I think that's my question.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Samantha, for your compliment. Is there any question from the participant? No? Okay. If there is any further question, we can. Oh, okay, please go ahead.
I have a question to Mr. Dr. Novi. That have you any environmental protection law rules in your country to protect your marine or ecological degradation? And circular economy. Have you applied any circular economy to recycling your environmental hazard or environmental debris, which is recycling? Have you any plan to circular economy to build in your country?
Excuse me, what was the first one?
Environmental protection rules or regulation.
Oh. Yeah.
Any existing which is protect your environmental degradation.
Thank you. Yeah, we have so many regulations and laws for protecting our coastal environments. We have so many. And but one issue is that some of them are overlap each other. Yeah. And for example, there is the new law that now we are still addressing. So before this new law took place, the coastal area management was the authority of local government at region or district level. But this, and it has been happening for years, for 20 years. But there was like new law transferring the authority for coastal management from local district to like provincial level. Yeah, and we are still addressing it because now, because of this law, the local government they don't have authority anymore for managing coastal environment, and our MPA, marine protected area, are mostly located at the physically is located at a proximate distance from the local government. Yeah. So we are still addressing, but we have many laws for environmental protections. And as an example from my that I mentioned earlier, for example, some islands they have like aquaculture activities coming from external investors, and they don't apply a good management for their waste. Yeah. So they just dump the waste directly to the surrounding oceans, yeah, without any compliance to the proper treatment. And there's some cases that pollute seagrass and coral reefs, and they die. And because those coral reef and seagrass are important for tourism activity, and that also impacts the tourism activities in this area. So this external activity or investments impacts the local community activities, local environment, but they also conflict with each other, actually. What we could do with these issues is just to enhance our law enforcement. And I exemplified earlier by imposing more strict marine special permit. Yeah. And then under the circular economy, yes, but it is like still on based on projects base. It's not like a national project. So some projects comes to some islands, bringing this technology for waste management, do the recycling, yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, but it's not, it's this type of projects, when they've complete, they're supposed to be transferred to the local authority to maintain this in sustainable way. But it doesn't happen mostly. Yeah. But yes, there are some circular economy projects to some locations, but not yet sustainable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Navi. Now we'd like to move with our next three speakers. So in addition to the promising solution and technologies, we also would like to hear from them about how the Asia-Pacific region can leverage international cooperation, innovative strategies, and also the financial mechanism to enhance the ocean-based solution, and also to reduce the climate risk and marine resource degradation. So I would like to invite Ms. Margarita, Marine and Coastal Ecosystem Lead, coordinating body on the Sea of East Asia. Yeah, Ms.
Okay.
Margarita.
So thank you. And first of all, I wish to say that I'm glad that the role of the marine and coastal environment is gaining recognition in the climate space. So the region, as you know, has regional complementarities, shared challenges, gaps, climate risks, and needs that can drive international or at least regional cooperation to support transboundary initiatives, leading to inclusive transformative adaptation action and policy cohesion. So the UN Environment Program has several existing platforms in the region that we can leverage from, including the Global Adaptation Network and the Asia-Pacific Adaptation Network, as regional platforms on adaptation knowledge sharing, including ecosystem-based adaptation. So there are several regional adaptation platforms all around the world connected together through the Global Adaptation Network, allowing not only an regional collaboration, but inter-regional connection towards a more integrated international approach. As for financing, there is also the UNEP IUCN Global Ecosystem-Based Adaptation Fund, which is a catalytic mechanism for supporting innovative approaches to ecosystem-based adaptation, aimed at helping people to adapt to the adverse effects of climate change. It supports a broad range of actors, including civil society, NGOs, research organizations, towards ecosystem-based adaptation approaches. So yesterday, we had a session where we had speakers from the shrimp farming communities and MPA networks who utilize these funds towards adaptation processes, which also supports their livelihood. So these are very community-based efforts that are happening in this region where we can utilize such funding. And for example, final example, as a regional mechanism and where I am a part of, which is the coordinating body on the Seas of East Asia. It is a regional seas mechanism, which is an intergovernmental platform guided by the East Asian Seas Action Plan. So we have over 40 years of experience in the 9 participating countries, providing a platform for collaboration and cooperation on addressing marine and coastal challenges. We have been mostly focused on marine pollution and on biodiversity, and now we are slowly taking in climate issues, making up the triple planetary crisis that the UNEP is focusing on. So we are a country-driven process and provide the space towards regional approach to tackle these challenges. Guiding our marine and coastal biodiversity work is the Marine and Coastal Ecosystems Framework, aligned with the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which I don't hear so often in these types of conferences, interconnecting biodiversity, climate, and pollution nexus. So in Target 8 of this GBF, for example, is focus on climate. Being part of the biodiversity targets demonstrate the linkages between all these things. So there is a need to increase ocean-based or marine and coastal ecosystems' role in climate action, which we at COBC are also starting to take in, because I mentioned we were only focused on pollution, biodiversity, so now we are looking at the role of climate. And some examples could be through blue carbon, as mentioned earlier, EBA, nature-based solution. And within the MCE framework I mentioned earlier, we can indicate long-term goals of regional marine protected area networking, so providing opportunities for learning exchanges among marine protected managers and can increase resilience of coral reefs. So apart from just supporting and managing the coral reefs and MPAs in front of you, when you are connected in some kind of network with other MPAs, and there is a climate issue, for example, and an MPA is destroyed, and you are working together with this one, and they are managing well, the dispersal of polyps that can go to these different MPAs can help recover these MPAs. So if you have this and a bigger range, instead of just protecting your own MPA in front of you, this can create a adaptation mechanism so that coral reefs can recover. So we are trying to do this at an intergovernmental level, because countries are already doing this in their respective countries within a limited space. We want to connect a bigger MPA within the region. So these are some of the linkages we can do in the biodiversity space in order to connect to the ocean space. And apart from COBC, so there are other regional seas programs that exist in the Asia-Pacific region. We have NAUPAP, which is the Northwest Pacific Action Plan. We have SPREP in the Pacific. We have SASEP for South Asia seas. And from these, there are also a range of 18 regional seas in total, working beyond these respective regions. So we can leverage within the UNEP Regional Seas Program to support transboundary marine and coastal ecosystem efforts to address in relation to climate issues. And expanding what we can do is we can expand the existing roles of these regional institutions to accelerate science services of ocean governance in the climate sphere. So we don't have to create another regional entity or something. We can use these existing mechanisms to support and increase their efforts on marine space towards the climate issues. And on the questions on investments, yesterday we had a very interesting topic on EBA investments. I mentioned earlier the shrimp farm. And UNEP is also doing a project on the Green Climate Fund, projects on five Pacific islands, strengthening their adaptation capacity, and including in the component of such projects is always regional cooperation and management. So when you're all in this specific geography, you just don't work within your space, but also try to see how the others are doing and learning from this. So in funding mechanisms, you're just not funding yourself and your country. You try to see how you can also work with others and just build a bigger funding opportunity. So I guess that's it for my part for COBC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Margarita, for your thoughtful remarks. So now I'd like to invite Mr. Khurshid Alam, Honorable Secretary, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Government of Bangladesh. So Mr. Alam has some interesting slides for you. I hope you'll enjoy his presentation. Yeah, Mr. Alam.
Thank you. Can I have the slides? Well, let me take you to the transboundary oceans, because we have been talking here today about the ocean action and ocean-based solutions. So unless and until we travel to the oceans, it's difficult to actually visualize what happens from the coastline. This is where is the Oceans Act. Next slide, please. So if there is, we talk about the, the blue economy. Why we talk about the blue economy? Because these are all the sustainable use of the ocean resources for the inclusion, preservation, growth of the humanity, but maintaining environmental sustainability. Why? Because 97% of the water is in the seas, 50 to 80% of the oxygen comes from the ocean, 30 to 70% of the CO2 is absorbed by the ocean, and also 90% of the heat comes from the ocean. Without the oceans, life on Earth would have been impossible, actually. Next, please. Yeah, if there's an elephant in the ocean, there is sound also, you can give that sound. Just press one more time. If there is an ocean, there is an elephant in the room. The ships are elephant in the seas. There are about 120,000 ships. You can see all the white dots are ships. So they are not only emitting greenhouse gases, they are also polluting the oceans. And all over the oceans, as in Zipiri, Colombo to Hormuz, to Red Sea, to Mediterranean, and everywhere. So that's the number one problem we have, which we don't visualize living into the oceans. Next slide, please. Well, this all again, it says it depends on the industry and the operators. So that's the ambition of the ZCSP, that if there is cooperation between these two, then of course you will have a new green teamworks, and the ships will be not emitting the greenhouse gases, but the reduced amount of greenhouse gases and less polluting the seas. Next one, please. And again, see, all these weather forecasts these days are coming, all the hazards, or you can say the disasters, are coming from the sea. We need to study the sea more, but there is less and less studies are happening these days. Next slide, please. And you can see even the mangrove forest in Bangladesh, as you can see here, these are being eroding because of the weather pattern changing very fast. Cyclones are coming, and the one where we depend for stabilization of the coast, that is also giving up to the sea. Every year, miles of the coastal areas are being washed away into the sea because of the change of the weather pattern and the climate change. Next slide, please. This, of course, the pollution, we can all understand. There is a lot of pollution is happening out at sea. We don't realize it from the coastline, but that's what it is happening. Next slide, please. The primary productivity of the oceans are decreasing. The chlorophyll content, if it is not there, the fish and other things will not survive. We have carried out a study in the Bay of Bengal. As you can see, the chlorophyll content changes every season of the year, and that is a sort of warning for all of us. Next slide, please. So what is the mitigation adaptation as per the IPCC? It says harness the blue economy approach, and we need to make national laws and regulations, as already told my fellow panelist. And we have to have the marine spatial planning, which we don't have, most of the countries. And that's the number one problem we have. And facilitate incentives, of course, the carbon markets. That's we have been talking about here. Next slide, please. Yes, the carbon, the blue carbon, actually, you can see you need it from the climate and also for the livelihoods. But 50% of our people in Asia lives on the fish, So, press it again. So our climate mitigation efforts are not enough, whatever we have been done. So only the blue carbon can help us, and that can come from the forest as well as from the seagrasses. And as you can see, the blue carbon habitats can also mitigate risk. When the cyclone comes, if you see the down one, compare with the up one, actually the waves of the seas are directly hitting the houses in the lower part. But in the upper part, if you have mangrove forest, it is acting as a buffer zone, and it is helping us a lot. So it can also mitigate the risk of the coastal people. Next one, please. So the coastal habitat facilitation is an important aspect of any sort of solution we have. So we can have the physical engineering, that's okay. But socioeconomics and ecosystem, that means the mangrove forest planting and other things are more important for the coastal habitat facilitation. Next slide, please. Yeah, next one. So the financing has come. That's an important area. So it can be a private capital, it can be a blended finance structure, and it also can be a development funding from both public as well as philanthropic institute, and also from like SCAF and other UN system. So from wherever the financing comes, I think it's not a matter. We have to accept the financing and go for the project so that we can initiate some of the actions which we have been discussing so far, so that the gas emission is reduced, climate change doesn't take place, the blue carbon helps us to that extent. Next slide, please. Yes, if we can do that, we can have the climate mitigation through ecosystem and biodiversity restoration, as already discussed by my fellow panelists. And of course, we need renewal and modernization of the industrial fabric. Whatever industries we have on the land, these are polluting to a great extent, and we need to probably review and modernize. Of course, we can create millions of green jobs, especially in rural and coastal areas. There is a lot of scope. Only thing probably is the lack of financing and also finding out the ways and means where to invest. That's another difficulty. Next slide, please. Well, that's what will be my final slide. So ensure food security and reduce hydric stress, whatever I have discussed so far. Sustainable management of natural resources to avoid overexploitation, whether it is fish or other resources in the sea. We have to have sustainability and reduce dependence on fossil fuel. I don't have to promote this, it is already there, but promote renewable energies where we are not doing very much right now. We need to do it, renewable energy, even on the coastal waters. Developed actions aimed at mitigating and adapting to climate change. We have developed a lot of actions on the paper. But on reality, in most of the countries, I can say that we are still far behind the planned or estimated actions we have so far initiated. So we need to create green jobs and maintaining productivity and competitiveness, and that's a must for our future survival. And finally, if we want to improve our public health, you can see the cancer patients. You look back 25 years back, there were hardly cancer patients. In 100,000 people, maybe there was only one. But now in 10,000 people, you have the cancer patients, about 5, 10, 15, 20. Why? Because the food habits have changed and greenhouse gases come in, and also we are not in a position to maintain the public health considering all the other ecological factors which is affecting us. Because if we do not give importance on our ecology, which we actually ignore at our own peril, you will see we can produce a lot of apples, a lot of mangoes, but that will have worms, insects inside. It won't be easy to digest or eat, and it will create a lot of problems for us. And we have already seen it. And future, if the present is any direction, future is not looking very good. We need to take a lot more concrete actions to initiate or provide a healthy environment for our people, healthy food habits for our people, and a healthy environment as well, both at sea as well as on the land. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Khurshid Alam, for your nice and very informative presentation. So just a quick question from my side. As you said, we need to act more and need to formulate more actions and plans. So can you tell us a bit, how can we enhance the South-South and triangular cooperation to formulate the plans and also implement them in the Asia-Pacific region?
Thank you very much. In fact, the problem with us is you see, if you look at the morning slides, first slide today, it started with land, water, and the oceans. Whereas it should have been other way around. Oceans, water, and the land. Because oceans are 71%, land is only 29%. Just because in the land we have people who fights for their rights and or democracy and everything else. Fish and the corals and the living beings in the seas, they don't have voting rights. They can't come to UN and say what their problem is. So we need to probably make a balance, and change our outlook totally. That unless we improve the situation and the condition at sea, either through South-South cooperation or through UNESCAP or through UN or through the UN Ocean Conference, I believe that it is going to take a long, long time for us to ensure the food security on the land, as well as health security on the land and ancillary other problems. So we need to probably cooperate more on the sea issues, talk to the stakeholders like shipping, They are one of the greatest polluters, but we don't see them, we don't talk about them, But we see some of the chimneys are emitting from the brick kilns. We say, oh, look at this polluter, But they are the worst polluter. But the industry is so big, there are 120,000 ships, and 1.46 million seafarers are on board those ships. So we need to cooperate and coordinate our actions more with the users of the sea, which we don't see at all, living in the coastline or living in the land or metropolitan cities. So I would say that much of our studies should focus on the health of the oceans, because if you have a wedding cake, if you have a wedding cake, 3-story wedding cake, the biosphere or the SDG goal 14 is in the base. So if the base cake is not okay, the second layer of cake, which is a society, will not survive. And the third layer, economy, the last layer, will not develop. So it all depends on the biosphere on the goal 14. If the goal 14 is okay, rest of the goals are interconnected, we can probably move up the ladder and ensure a healthy society, economically prosperous society for all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Alam, for your thoughtful remarks. Now I'd like to invite our last speaker, Ms. Samantha Thain, Senior Manager, Sustainability, APSC and MEA. The floor is yours.
Yeah, hi everyone. So thank you for the time, and I've really learned a lot from my fellow panelists. So I think for me, I won't be sharing too much about, I think the current issue. I think we are very clear that more action needs to be done. But maybe instead I will aim to synthesize what I have also personally taken back today and what I feel more can be done from a ground level up. So if I have to summarize, I think if we look at ocean issues, they are the base of everything. But I think for me, the challenge is that it's a very multifaceted issue. We look a lot at policy, we look a lot at what industries are doing, we look at a lot of risks that we have, like monsoon, waste management challenges. And to me personally, I think the challenge is that we don't talk enough to each other. Because, for example, what I've seen is like, for example, some of the solutions that we are looking for in coral restoration. If we look to the Philippines, which has great MPAs, marine protected areas, there's a lot we can learn. So for me, I think highlighting that role of collaboration is really missing. And I do hope beyond such forums just like this, the conversation continues on beyond just policymakers, but also engaging people on the ground. I think we talk a lot about the role of non-government funding, private funding. For me, I think that is really, at this moment, the key to unlocking that transition for coastal communities, for getting a just inclusion for people who may not have access to government funding, or, for example, higher mechanical vehicles like part of the ADB. So I think that private funding section, I think, will need to flow, especially within ASEAN. So how can we collaborate more to drive collaboration and as well as find solutions that can be adapted across our different regions, especially in Southeast Asia. And I guess for me, the last thing I also talk about is waste. I think waste has been a very big topic and also the biggest priority in ASEAN. I think the challenge is, even if we care a lot about monsoon, climate change, transitioning away from reducing our reliance on overfishing, I think the truth is that if we don't look at livelihoods, people on the ground are not going to care very much about transitioning, because for them, firstly important is making sure that they have a healthy place to live in. So I think waste management is one of the biggest issues, because it's not just about environment, it's also about public health. And I personally hope to see a lot more engagement with the private sector, more extended producer responsibilities to ensure that the private sector has a level of responsibility, making sure that waste infrastructure is there. And I do see that coming, especially in Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia. They've all started to implement EPR frameworks. So I think that's one very practical policy measure where people can get involved. And I think lastly for me is the inclusion of young people at these forums. I think we talk a lot about how the green jobs, how it will transition young people, you know, the millennials who are maybe 28 to 40, these will be the ones that will be in the next 10 years working on these transitions, and how do we build the capacity. I think we talk a lot about capacity building, but how that actually transforms and takes place, I think for me is a big question mark. So I'm hoping to see a lot more focus and investment in young talent, especially in the South, in South countries, rather than just, you know, I think a lot of, I'll be very honest, I think a lot of high technology that comes from the global north, you know, when there are solutions, when something goes wrong with technology, we are not here and equipped enough to solve it. So how do we make sure that, you know, we bring this knowledge and innovation to the young people who will be tasked with carrying the work of adapting and mitigating to climate change for the next 30 years. So that's just a quick summary, and thank you everyone very much for your time.
Thank you, Samantha, for sharing your perspective. So now I'd like to thank every panelist because they gave their presentation, shared their thoughtful remarks with all of you. And also they managed the time to come here and share their experience and how can we share the good practices and how can we promote the best solutions and how can we best implement the plans and strategies that we have at present in our hand. So now I'd like to open the floor. You can ask your question directly to the panel member and they will answer. Yeah.
Thank you, each of the panelists, for their nice discussion. I have a question to Khurshid Alam sir regarding the ocean acidification, because you have mentioned well that we need to maintain the health of the ocean for overall economic development. I mean, in context of Bangladesh, because recently we have seen incidences like death of whale and some other sea creatures got, we found them dead in the seashore. So what could be the reasons? I mean, do you think this is because of the ocean acidification that this is happening? And how to control it? What are the measures that the government can take to control this kind of incidences? Thank you.
Thank you very much. This was a very unfortunate incident that we regularly find very big whales come to the shore, you know, in dead condition. But as far as our studies are concerned, this is not due to acidification. As I said, the elephant in the room are the ships. There are 120,000 ships all over the world carrying almost 11 billion tons of goods from one country to another. Even last year, it was about 11.8 billion tons. So they are moving all the time. And we have whales in the Swatch of No Ground area. And that's an area through which the ships pass through from all the Indian ports, Bangladeshi ports, to either Colombo or to Singapore, you know, crisscross them. And those whales, and most probably they got stuck with the ship's propeller, which is about, say, 50 feet or 30 feet, 40 feet below the ship. And they, sometime if there are 3-4 ships, they get lost their way, you know, and then get stuck. So mostly they got stuck with their propeller, and probably there's some injury, and then from the injury they actually die. Eutrophication, yes, it's also a problem in the Bay of Bengal as well, because we are having a lot of not only Bangladesh, also we have transboundary rivers coming from India to Bangladesh and then to the Bay of Bengal. And there are almost over 55 rivers. I don't think any other coastal area is probably having so many of transboundary rivers which are bringing the pollutants from across the border and all, dumping into the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Ocean as a whole. And those are actually creating the eutrophication, as well as the plastic pollution, of course, that is there. We are also in the same, although I can tell you that Bangladesh was the first country in the world. We have actually banned manufacture and use of single-use plastic in 2002. If you go to UNEP website, you will see Bangladesh is the first country. But as I agree with my colleague from Indonesia, that implementation maybe, at the lower level is not always as 100% as you would like to have. So the implementation-wise, maybe we are still lacking, but we need to, pull up our socks and see that the plastic pollution does not travel to the area. Then I would say that much of it will be taken care of. And another industry we have is the shipbreaking. That is also, in fact, polluting the sea, the shipbreaking industry. But we have ratified the Hong Kong Convention, and already out of the number of shipbreaking yards, about 4 yards are actually complying with the Hong Kong Convention. That means the open method cutting is no more there. So we can improve the rest of the shipbreaking yards. I hope that Bangladesh would be in a much better position. And also we are providing, for the information of the ladies and gentlemen here, that jute bags, which are biodegradable bags, The jute bags we are producing in large number now. Jute is the one thing which is a plant, grows in Bangladesh and in India. This was the only thing through which you made the gunny bags and jute bags, because this is biodegradable. But by 70s, Japan produced this synthetic fiber, So we lost the market. But now people are realizing that the synthetic fibers are not good. So these biodegradable jute bags are coming up. So we are producing a lot. Hopefully the jute bags will be provide the alternative to much of the pollution we are carrying out at sea. I hope I have been able to answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question and answer. So we can move to the next question. Yeah. Please share your identity and then ask the question to any of the speakers.
My name is Marilyn. I'm from UNICEF Malaysia. I have a question regarding the relationship with coastal communities and especially indigenous coastal communities and the incorporation of their knowledge into the adaptation, mitigation efforts that you have. Because like from my all the discussions that I've been a part of, this is something that is very important, that their knowledge is being lost throughout the generation. So, and also, when we talk about green jobs to these coastal communities, we are starting to talk about tourism instead of using the knowledge that they originally have that is valuable to these conversations. So like, how are we going to incorporate this? What kind of green jobs will you be able to offer to these communities that will incorporate these knowledges? And also, how are we going to change them into key actors instead of just those marginalized communities that we need to help? So incorporating them as like people that can actually take the necessary actions and create the discussions themselves with solutions that is coming from them. Thank you.
I think anyone can answer.
Okay, let me start in that case. Thank you for the questions. Yes, the coastal communities are in a really big problem. As you have very rightly said, green jobs, to create green jobs is also another problem for the developing countries like us. But then we can, in Bangladesh, like we are creating a lot of forest, by planting mangroves, And these are mostly done by the coastal communities. We are not importing people from outside. And also the women folk are used in planting these trees along the coastline. And every year we have a big program. We have almost developed 200,000 hectares of new mangrove forest planting with the help of the local communities. So these are actually green jobs. Ecotourism is also a green jobs. They do provide, but in Bangladesh we don't have much of tourism on the sea itself, but some of the developed countries they do have, and they do have ecotourism. And also the seagrass, tidal marsh, these are also, they produce, so you can employ them in the people Of course, the menfolk can be employed. Like you see, the fishing community, as I have shown, that in Asia, the 80% of artisanal fisheries are in Asia. So they live on fishing. Now, this fishing community as a whole, they cannot go to the sea for almost 200 days because whether we talk about Pacific or Bay of Bengal or Indian Ocean, for 200 days sea remains very rough. So only 150 days they can go to the sea. So for a very limited period of time. Now for the rest 200 days, what do? There is no government provides them any subsidies for the 200 days they are not fishing. So they have to be given some alternate, livelihood method. Like in Indonesia, they have coconut husking, The coconut husking could be a good alternative. They do. And we can probably replicate them in some of the coastal areas as well. When they are not fishing, they can do something else. And also, in our case, like we are culturing seaweeds. From the seaweeds, you can make from cosmetics to anything. In Bangladesh, we have found out that from seaweeds you can produce agar-agar. Agar-agar is a gelatin, you use in your cake and everything else. So this gelatin we are not getting from the animal fat. But if it is produced from agar-agar in the coastal waters, the fishermen, some of them could be diverted from one sort of profession to culture of the seaweeds and others. So there are a lot of scopes, and probably we need to take up schemes and bring them more awareness among the coastal communities. Look, what you do, there are good alternatives for you, and you can switch to those professions for some of the year when you cannot go for fishing. If other colleagues may like to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, probably just like small additions. That islanders or community living in coastal or small islands are mostly dependent on the ocean-based livelihoods. So I think, and that's the focus. I mean, there won't be like big industries, going there, and then there will be workers of this big industry. No, it won't happen, and it should stay like that. And our livelihood protection will be to devise strategies on how to manage this livelihood aspects in sustainable way by providing, for example, like machinery for fish for producing fish-based product, in a sustainable manner, and then seaweeds farming, of course with the environmental friendly methods, and also if these locations are suitable for mangrove restorations, then generations of the mangrove-based restoration livelihood will be relevant. And another thing, probably that is important that that I have seen with examples in Indonesia, that the projects or programs related to this matter is that they lack of, like in academic terminology, probably it's like a social engineering. So it's like they come, I mean, to some extent they learn the social, cultural aspect of the local community of the islands, but it's not comprehensive. So they just like come, conduct the projects, in certain durations, and then go. And in this context, they don't put much efforts on the establishment of good governance, and regulations required to maintain for whatever projects they are conducting sustainably after the projects have completes. That's important. And also, I think one component or one important aspect of this social engineering is talking to the local community in language that they understand. I mean, if we when we organize FGD with local communities, most of the groups comes from like small fisher, and then tour guide, and then like small-scale fishers, small-scale aquaculturists, or small-scale mariculturists. So when we talk about blue carbon, ocean climate, of course, that's not the language that they easily understand. So, yeah, I think that's part of the social engineering that we need to implement. I mean, if we talk about blue carbon, then it will be better if we talk about, it will be good to preserve your mangrove, seagrass, so that you could catch fish more, yeah, even in the future, something like that. Yeah, I think that's my small addition. Thank you.
Yes, of course, in initiative program or project, the target group is community people, yeah, in the coastal and marine zone. So I think the beneficiary for build up the resilience to the or adaptation, mitigation for them. Yeah, we need to work together, yeah, with the public sector, private sector, academy, and so civil society. As Cambodia, we engage civil society to work in the ground for build up resilience and implement the initiate project, yeah, support by our international organization or the government program. Yeah, that is our targeted is community and people, particularly indigenous people. Thank you.
Do you want to add anything?
One point, the impact of many of our jobs are actually current jobs, they are green jobs. But for me, how to make this more decent job for local community, and then how to make it more sustainable, and how to scale up in the process of a transition that we anticipate. That's one point. And Dr. Novi spoke about this language, what language we use to communicate with different stakeholder groups. And then Dr. Kusheda, his proposal to use not land, water, ocean, but when we talk about this issue, ocean comes first, the ocean, water, and land. From ESCAP side, we will implement your proposal. Thank you very much.
So we are very close to the timeline of this session. So if there is no session, we'd like to conclude, or we may take one or two very quick questions, if we have any. So I think it's better to close, as we have covered everything. So I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to thank our honorable panel members. And also I'd like to thank you for your kind patience and also for asking the questions. So if I made a quick summary of what we have heard from the panel members and also from you, that the pollution, ocean acidification, ocean warming, the overexploitation of the marine resources, and also unsustainable economic activities are the key challenges at this present. So the solution, the ocean-based solution we are talking today, from the discussion, it can be understood that ocean governance and also ocean health restoration and multi-stakeholder engagement can enhance the ocean-based solution and help us to tackle so many climate-related risks and challenges. So with this, I'd like to conclude the session. So thank you everyone for your kind patience and playing a very key role in to make this session very successful. And finally, I'd like to say one more thing. We are currently passing the UN Decade of Ocean Science, so everyone has a role there. So we also need to best utilize the latest available science and technology to enhance the ocean-based solution and also the tackle climate change in the ocean and coastal region. And tomorrow, this is the fourth session on the track 3, and tomorrow we have a fifth and last session on the track 3, and where we'll discuss the triple impact of natural solution in the Asia Pacific, all of you are invited to join that session. And on behalf of organizer, I'd like to thank everyone to make this session very successful. And also I'm very thankful for every panel member for their deliberation and share their thoughtful remarks with all of us. And also I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you so much. See you again in the future. Thank you. Is there any group photo? Can we take with the panel members?